Good day and welcome, I'm Mechanization, and today I'm gonna talk about Fallout 1, because a few days ago I finished the game, I finished the game after a long while, and I wanted to see how it actually aged, and it aged extremely well. It is still a good game, in short. So why is it still a good game? First of all, the graphics are, even though almost 20 years old, they are actually pretty good, because they have this timeless design where sprites, it's before 3D was really a thing in these games. So 2D sprites usually look a lot better. And with new GOG versions, you can actually have it, maybe it's even on Steam, I'm not sure. You can actually have it on 720p or 1080p, depending on what you really want to do. I've played it on 720p just because I liked the scale of the UI. As you can see, there are those small edges around where there's actually no UI, it's just a blank space. And with 1080p it gets a lot bigger. However, at 720p you can play it, in windowed, and it works pretty well. So the graphics on the visual side, it's still good, it's still manageable to watch. On the sound asset side, it's amazing. Voice acting is superb, really superb, and even the sounds of guns, some of them, they are very often similar, but sometimes you have this one or two guns which are slightly more powerful, at least in terms of handguns, for example, and they have a different sound. And when you hear the sound in the early game, you are just terrified of it. At that moment you know that you might die in one shot. And that's pretty good, pretty good. Now, about the gameplay itself, it's still good. There are some things in the UI which could be reworked, definitely. The UI is a bit clunky, it's at least inventory is a bit clunky. However, for example, the character sheet is actually pretty good. It's very easily visible. It's just clean, I think. Really, it's clean. And well, the gameplay itself, the combat is still good. It requires some tactics, it requires choices, it has some consequences. So if you want to build your character just purely working with laser guns, or laser guns, energy guns in general, you definitely can. However, you will definitely have a hard time in the beginning if it's only energy weapons that you're focusing on, because till, let's say, half of the game, you will most likely work with small guns. And hand-to-hand is also an option. Also, you don't have to fight at all. You can just get a character with high charisma, high intelligence, and, go through the whole game without actually shooting a single bullet. That is manageable. Although, if you choose to, let's say, go without even killing anything, then, well, you will miss some quests, you will miss some rewards, because these quests are definitely based on killing something, at least. So you can vow that you will not kill people, you can actually kill just creatures. Considering that they are mutated abominations who are just there to kill you, it's probably acceptable at that point. However, you can definitely go with the stealthy option, even in cases where one would say that, oh, it's impossible. You definitely can. Even though sometimes you have to run away from things, you definitely can. And that's what not a lot of games actually offer today. If I recall correctly, Dishonored was praised for this, because you had the option not to kill, you had the pacifist option, and considering that it was praised because it was seen as something new and modern and innovative in terms of games, action games, then, well, this RPG actually has it, and it's been 15 years earlier than this. And of course, Fallout is not the first one to have this option, so it's not a new thing. Even in 1997 it wasn't a new thing. However, considering how robust and how well created are the combat animations, and in general how many different types of weapons and different styles of combat there are, it is actually surprising that they still kept this option and, let's say, made you just miss those good moments in combat. However, this is usually not the case, because you're gonna play Fallout 1 at least once with weapon, and maybe then you'll try the sneaky approach or talking everyone to killing themselves approach. Yeah, that's always an option. And Fallout 1 aged extremely well with this. I can't really recall a game in recent memory which would strike me so much. Maybe it is because it's not long. Some games tended to be a bit longer. Today we would say that 30-40 hours is not a lot, considering how huge Skyrim is, how huge some, well, let's say Bethesda games are, or even Witcher 3, which is humongous. Yet hundreds and hundreds of hours of gameplay sometimes tend to be a bit dull, a bit lacking depth. In this case, the depth is still there, and it lasts for only 14 hours, and the depth is always there, which is nice. I am going to go for the second installation, where I know that the world is a lot larger, and people today tend to look at it in a slightly brighter way than at Fallout 1, because Fallout 1 is actually a pretty, even though it is an open world game, it is slightly linear in if you follow, you know, there is a proper path to go. Well, where it actually depends on like how strong you are. The first thing you're gonna do is not go to the final area of the whole game. Yet you can. And there are actually speedruns where people went for it and finished the whole game in not even 10 minutes, because they knew where to go, and you have to go into just 2 places, thinking about it. And that's pretty good. If you can actually, yeah, you have to go to 2 places in order to finish this. And that's once again pretty good. There is always some kind of option there. And well, I just love this game. Even after almost 20 years since its release, it's still a good game. And if you want an RPG, and you want a real RPG, not just Fallout 4 style where you have 4 options of how to describe what you want to do, more or less one of them is always sarcastic, which does nothing. In here, talking to someone has real consequences, and people might actually either not just try to kill you, but stop talking to you, and that's a problem. If you tell them something wrong, they might not allow you to continue with another set of dialogue, which is not the case of some modern games, where everything is almost always approachable. This is, for example, one of the problems of the Mass Effect. And you also, even though you more or less have just one ending, there is... there are 3 ways to finish the game, and then there's this video, I think it's narrated by Ron Perlman, where more or less every single thing you did in the game has some consequence to the area in which you've been. So you can actually change the ending slightly, because you, for example, missed one thing. You killed someone you weren't supposed to kill, or you actually haven't killed someone because you missed one line of dialogue with someone else. And that's pretty interesting, because afterwards you see that, I'll give you an example which is not really a spoiler heavy. At the end you have 2 options for Hub. Either it becomes a bustling city of trade, or it slowly dies away. And it all depends on what you do in there. Really, just one single quest can change this outcome. Another example was in the Brotherhood of Steel, where you actually have 4 different options. Depending on if you talk to everyone in the base, you actually might find someone who has this extra line of dialogue, which allows you to go onto a, let's say, not even a quest, because I don't think it's in the quest log, to, well, let's say a semi-quest. And the semi-quest actually leads towards you getting a different ending for the Brotherhood. Though the real ending of the game is the same, the consequences are the video about consequences is different, and that's really nice. So I think that Fallout 1 for $10 is one of the best RPGs you can get. And if you can get it in some kind of sale, maybe on GOG, maybe on Steam, however, I would always recommend GOG for these games, just do it. It's one of the best, it's still one of the best RPGs you can get. Well, I hope that you enjoy this. And if you did, don't forget to like it down below, it gets me high in traffic. Also, show it to your friends. And well, thanks for watching, and see you next time.